Sorry. Hello everyone. Welcome to this first live session of our course Metrics and Analytics of Marketing. I think we have covered 5 weeks till now, and we have covered various aspects of marketing metrics. So the first week started with initial understanding on the conceptual framework of marketing metrics. And then in the second week, we talked about the strategic approach, including the profits and margin related metrics. Then in the third week, we discussed about various aspects of share of hearts, minds, and the markets. We discussed various metrics such as brand development index, category development index, penetration share, and how they are linked to each other. We also talked about metrics such as net promoter score and some of the perceptual metrics such as willingness to buy, attitude. And then we move towards segmentation, various bases of segmentations. We delved into details of what are the demographic factors, geographic factors, psychographic factors that needs to be taken into consideration when we talk about segmentation. We also looked into various frameworks through which we can actually do the segmentation based on behavior. We delved into details of our RFM framework, that is recency, frequency, and monetary value based framework. Then we also delved into details regarding another framework called the ABC analysis. So we tried to divide the entire market based on the value created by the customers for the organization. So there can be some customers who falls into A category, they create more value for the organization as compared to somebody who belongs to the C category. We had detailed discussion in multiple instances. We discussed about the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule of business. ABC analysis is based on that 80-20 principle. So what does it say? 20% in our context, in the context of marketing metrics or market segmentation, the Pareto principle can be extended with the context that 20% of my total customer base will contribute to 80% of the total value of the business. Then in subsequent classes, we also discussed about an extreme version of this Pareto principle, which was called a well curve. Basically, well curve discussed about how small percentage of people can result in your a greater value. Let's say only 10 to 20% of your customers will result in 150% of your business value. Why it is more than 100%? It should not be ideally, unless and until there are some customers who are actually causing losses for your business. In reality, that happens. All the customers are not profitable for you. There can be some customers who are just looking for the discounted items from your brand. There can be customers who will just purchase very little from your brand, but they will seek much attention in terms of post-purchase service. So these customers may not be beneficial for you. So some of the customers will actually drain out some of your business value or profit. And that is why under the well curve, we try to look into the customers by the deciles of their profitability. Then in the 5th week of this course, we had a detailed discussions regarding a very important matrix called customers lifetime value. Nowadays, we do not look much into what is the instant value that is created by a customers. Marketers have actually, marketing as a domain has traveled a long distance from the time where we looked into the early transaction value only. Now we look into the customers' loyalty. We look into the what value can be created from the customers in the future rather than putting our emphasis only on the present transaction. So I have received two questions. I will be discussing that, but what I will try to do, I will quickly share a PPT which will summarize what are the different topics that were covered till the week of this course. So let's start with this. Okay, so is that visible? No, I have to share it from this one. Just a minute. Share. Okay, I think now it will become visible. Is it visible now? Okay. So what I will quickly cover is this one. What are the overview of the different content covers from week 1 to week 5? The sessions roadmap are in the week 1. The topics covered were foundations of marketing metrics, where we discussed about the conceptual frameworks of marketing metrics. The different categories of marketing metrics, which were covered as milestone metrics, activity metrics, and outcome metrics. It can also be purviewed from the perspective of input, process, and output. In week 2, we looked into strategic approach. We looked into various metrics associated with margins and profits. In week 3, we looked into various market related metrics, share of hearts, mind, and the market. In week 4, we looked into segmentation metrics, and ultimately week 4, we covered the customer's lifetime value and profitability. So talking about the week first, we tried to define what is marketing metrics and the importance of marketing metrics in decision making, and how each of these marketing initiatives should be linked to our financial outcome. So basically, earlier days, marketing was just considered as a domain of gut feeling. But those days are gone. Nowadays, what we try to do is like every activity, every penny that is incurred by me as a marketing manager, I am accountable to the output of this particular expenditure. So accountability has to be fixed, and that is why we need everything in terms of numbers. For example, I initiate a marketing campaign. So from this campaign, what is the incremental sales or incremental profit that I am deriving on the basis of, we calculate it on a longer period of time, not instant, because we as a marketer understand that if I initiate a campaign today, then the return may not be very much immediate. Return can come. Some customers will become aware about my product. They will contemplate on my brand. They will evaluate my brand with respect to other brands that is available in the industry, and they will take a call of purchasing my brand. So this entire process will take some time. When we talked about the conceptual framework of marketing metrics, we talked about the input metrics, process metrics, and output metrics. Input metrics are basically the metrics which are used as an input for the expected output. Awareness metrics, for example, or if I look at it from a digital marketing phenomenon, then it is the impressions. The impressions are considered as input metrics. Then some of the some engagement happens in between from the impressions, that is click-through rate, can be considered as a process metrics. And output metrics is something, a desired activity is performed, a purchase is being made. And after that, what we are going to calculate is that from this particular sponsored advertisement, what is the revenue that is created for the organization? So what is the return on investment? What is the return on asset? So those things, those calculations will come under output matrix. We looked into the metrics related to margins and profitability. These metrics are basically the basic concepts of accounting and finance. So first thing that we looked into was the contribution margin. What is the contribution margin? A simple calculation, simple equation of what is the price that you have charged for unit product and what is the variable cost associated with the production of the unit product. Remember that cost is divided into two categories. One is the variable cost and another one is the fixed cost. Fixed cost is something like, irrespective of how many units will be sold in the market, the fixed cost has to be incurred. For example, you are giving the rent, you are giving salary to your employees, irrespective of the number of employees, that is this one, irrespective of number of units sold in the market, that is a fixed cost that you have to give, right? Variable cost is something like what is the cost of production, the cost of raw materials, and then let's say the cost of electricity, in case electricity is a function of production. So cost of labor, contractual labor, all these things will come into variable cost. Then we can calculate the gross margin. What is the overall margin after accounting for administrative cost, after accounting for sales cost, marketing cost? Then ultimately comes the net margin. What is the amount remaining with the organization after accounting for taxes, related taxes and all? Then we also discussed about a concept called break-even analysis. Basically, break-even analysis tries to find out the minimum number of units to be sold in the market in order to arrive at a situation of no profit and no loss. Basically, from the contribution margin, from each of these units sold in the market, you have to arrive at a situation of fixed cost. So contribution margin multiplied by number of units sold should be equal to your fixed cost. So ultimately, the break-even quantity required will be your fixed cost divided by contribution margin. Then we looked into the various metrics related to market. The simplest metrics that we started with was the market share. Market share can be calculated in terms of unit market share and in terms of revenue market share. So if we look at it from unit market share, then it is the number of units sold by the firm divided by number of units sold of that product category in the entire market. Similarly, we can calculate it from revenue standpoint. Then another variation of market share is called the relative market share. So in case of relative market share, our base is not the entire market, rather our base is the most significant competitor in the market or most dominant competitor in the market. So relative market share helps you understand where do you stand as compared to the dominant players in the market. Then comes a concept called market concentration. How many players are there in the market? How many companies are operating under the same industry? And what is their dominance level? Is it equivalently distributed? Is the market share equivalently distributed? Or one company is having 99% market share while another company is having just 1% of the market share? So there is another matrix called Hirfindel index, which helps you understand the market concentration. The Hirschfeld index is nothing but the market share of each of these player existing in the industry. We will square it up and sum it up. The value of Hirschfeld index falls between 0 and 1. Ideally, if the Hirschfeld value is 1, then it is a monopolist market. Only one company is existent in the market. There is no other competitor. So lesser the value of Hirschfeld index is, it indicates that market is more dispersed. There are more number of, relevant competitors in the market. Then we looked into the concepts or metrics such as brand development index, category development index, market penetration, category penetration, penetration share. Basically, brand development index is a measurement used to visualize the performance of a particular brand in a particular segment as compared to the brand's performance in the overall market. So definition wise, it is the number of units sold by a particular brand in a particular market or in a particular segment divided by number of household in that particular segment divided by brands, this one, number of units sold by the brand in the entire market divided by number of population in the number of household in the entire market. Then similarly for category, instead of brand, we will look into the category. Let's say category development index can be something like this. For example, let's say the consumption of dairy product in India is an average person in India used to have more dairy products in India as compared to Middle East. Just for example, this is a hypothetical example. Then in that case, category development index for India will be more than this one, the overall market. The same, the concepts are same. One is for brand and another one is for category. Similarly, we have another index called penetration share. So penetration share is basically market, this one, the existence of the brand divided by existence of the category. What is the consumption level of the brand by the category users and what is the consumption level of the particular category by the customers of the entire market. Then there is another matrix which is related to loyalty of the customers, that is called the net promoter score. Basically, net promoter score is the percentage of promoters for the brand minus the percentage of detractors of the brand. It does not take into consideration the percentage of people who are neutral. So basically, let's say you have 100 customers. Out of 100 customers, 20 customers are promoting your brand. They are referring your brand to their network. On the other hand, there are 10 customers who are bad-mouthing your brand. And rest of the 70 customers are neutral. They are purchasing from your brand probably, but they are not promoting your brand in the outside world. Then in that case, the net promoter score in this particular situation will be 20 minus 10, that is 10%. Then we discussed about the implications of retention. Why customer retention is important. There are two approaches to, keep your existence relevant in the market. One is you keep acquiring new set of customers or you keep retaining your old set of customers. The problem with acquiring the new set of customer is that one is there is always a metric called customer acquisition cost, which is very high as compared to retention cost. So that is one problem. Second one is that if you are retaining your existing set of customers, then you know them very well as compared to a new customer. So in that case, the retention becomes easier for you in the subsequent years. So that is the implication of retention. Retention can give you more value. Retention can reduce the cost of servicing. Then we discussed about this topic called customer segmentation. Customer segmentation is the process of dividing a heterogeneous market into homogeneous groups depending on their similarity. So while segmenting the customers, we need to keep in focus that the segment has to be substantial. The segment has to be accessible. There should be a proper match between the needs and requirements of the segment's customers and my business value proposition. That should map well. Whatever I am offering, whatever value proposition I am making, it is important. That value proposition is important for the segment that I am targeting. Then we also had discussions regarding the profitability of various segments. All the segments are not profitable for the same brand. Some of the customers will be more profitable, some of the customers can be less profitable. We can divide our customer base based on the profitability, like we have done in ABC analysis. So our A category customers can be our most valuable customers, and C category customers can be our least valuable customers. For each of this segment, we can calculate the profitability, and accordingly we can allocate our resources based on the profitability from each of these target segments. The study can be done in terms of demographic variables. The basis of segmentation can be in terms of behavioral variables. The basis of segmentation can be based on value-based variables. Then we discussed about various digital marketing metrics, CTR, click-through rate, then cost per click, cost per acquisition, conversion rate. We also had a detailed discussion on the framework called the marketing funnel. Why it was called a funnel? Because marketing starts with a broader market. If I try to illustrate this framework of marketing funnel from a digital marketing standpoint, let us take an example that I am making a social media sponsored advertisement. Let's say this particular advertisement, this particular content will be exposed to 1 lakh relevant viewers. So out of this 1 lakh viewers who are exposed with this content, only let's say 10,000 customers will be clicked on the link. This 10,000 customers means my click-through rate is 10%. Out of this 10%, 10,000 people, only 1,000 will sign up for the sign up as per the instruction, because they need more information. So basically impression to click-through rate through your desired action, that is a sign up, is 1,000. Out of this 1,000 people, I find that as per my target segment is concerned, only 800 people are eligible to be my customers. It can be evaluated in terms of let's say affordability, it can be evaluated in terms of relevance, it can be evaluated in terms of some other metric. Only 800 people are, these are my marketing qualified lead. Then out of this 800 people, my sales team will say that because trying to counsel these 800 people are a costly affair. So out of 800, my sales people believe that only 500 people are sales qualified lead. So ultimately the numbers boil down to 500. And these 500 people, we will try to make a call. We will try to send them the brochure of our program. We will counsel them regarding the benefits associated with my product. And then ultimately out of 500, only 50 persons will subscribe to our product. So now remember, we started by reaching to 1 lakh people. At each of these stages, we are losing some of the people. And that is why it is called a marketing funnel. So how the number of people got reduced from 1 lakh to 50 persons who are our actual customers. Out of these 50 persons, again, there can be only 30 persons who will be renewing the subscriptions, who will be our repeat customers. So this phenomenon is important to understand. Then we talked about the customer profitability. So customer profitability is viewed from two dimensions. One is what is the immediate profit that we are gaining, and another dimension is what is the anticipated profit that we can derive from an average customer in his or her lifetime. By customer lifetime, we refer to the time period where a customer is expected to have a relationship with the brand. Relationship means it starts with the time frame of customer getting exposed about the brand. They become aware about the brand till the point the customers stop purchasing the product of that brand. So if you can increase the longevity of the customer relationship with the brand, in that case, you have a better edge to improve the customer's lifetime value. Then when calculating the customer's lifetime value, we also need to look into the what is the cost incurred to acquire the customers and what is the cost incurred to retain the customer. So customer level analysis can be there, and the analysis can also be done at the segment level. If you remember correctly, we discussed this CLV formula. Customer lifetime value is a function of three factors, basically. One is what is the longevity of the customer with the brand. Second one is at what frequency the customer used to purchase a product of that brand. Third one is what is the average value per transaction. So either of these three factors, if you can improve on either of these three parameters, your customer lifetime value will improve. Then another aspect or another parameter which is very much related to customer lifetime value is retention rate. Retention rate determines what is the longevity of the customer with the brand. That is why we can also devise an equation to calculate the customer's lifetime value in terms of retention rate. If you remember correctly, the customer lifetime value formula was CLV equal to contribution margin multiplied by retention rate divided by 1 plus discount rate minus retention rate. Why we are taking discount rate into consideration? Because the future cash flow of money will not have the exact value that we are getting now. It goes something like this. If I am getting 100 rupees today, the value of this 100 rupees in today's rate is 100 rupees only. But if I am getting 100 rupees next year or next to next year, that is not equal to 100 rupees today, because the value of money will diminish over a period of time with a percentage. So this percentage, this discount rate can be conceived as, let's say, inflation rate. If I have been able to purchase something with 100 rupees today, let's say I will require 110 rupees in the next year. So in that case, if I am getting 100 rupees in the next year, its actual value today will be 100 divided by 110 multiplied by 100. So this is the exact value. I mean, this is the estimated value of the 100 rupees that is expected to be inflowing to our company in the next year. It is lesser than today's value. So the discounting has to be done in order to realize the actual value of the customers through its lifetime. Then we looked into the integrated view, that is the marketing metrics, how marketing metrics can be used to look into the profitability and financial outcome, how it can be aligned with the strategy of the business, such as the moment I understand my A customers are most profitable customers, my C customers are not that profitable, then I can come up with a strategy that I will allocate more resources associated with the marketing initiative for my A customers rather than C customers. Because I understand the fact very well that in case I lose 20% of my A customer, then in that case, I am losing a lot of revenue. I am losing a lot of value of the organization. But let's say if I am losing some customers from my C category customers, then in that case, I am still sustainable. I just need to improve. Probably if I get some lesser amount of A customers also at the cost of some C customers, probably I am better off. Then we looked into the integrated view in terms of long-term value creation for the organization. So this is the overview of what we have been covering in the last 5 weeks. Now I have received 2 questions from your side, which are very relevant questions, and both the questions are related to the most important topic called the customer lifetime value. The first question is, in customer lifetime value based decision making, how should the firm balance short-term profitability metrics with the long-term customer equity? These questions can be bifurcated into multiple aspects. One is that we need to understand what is CLV based decision making. The CLV based decision making is something where we are making a financial decision based on the anticipated value from the present as well as from the future. On the other hand, if we are not going with a marketing orientation, then in that case, we will just look into the value from the transactions. So in one case, we are becoming myopic. In another case, we are becoming, we are taking a holistic approach to calculate the value of the customers for the business. Now, but the sustainability of the firm is also dependent on the short-term profitability. You have to exist you have to stay relevant in the industry in order to make profit in a long term. So that is why there has to be a fine balance between short-term profitability and long-term profitability. So if I look at this various metrics associated with short-term profitability and long-term customer equity, then short-term profitability is the quarterly revenue. So what is the revenue that I am getting in a quarter? Let's say I come up with a marketing initiative where I am extending a discount to my existing set of customers. So there can be a possibility that customers will probably buy more units of the product at that particular quarter. Then contribution margin. What is the contribution margin? Contribution margin means it is the percentage of profit, percentage of the difference between price and variable cost in terms of the price that you are setting. So your numerator is price minus variable cost and your denominator is the price That gives you the contribution margin in terms of percentage. Then CAC payback, customer acquisition cost payback. So this is a very critical matrix. Why? Because if we look at the CAC, then in that case, it is a very high value metric. The company may be incurring a lot of money in acquiring a customer, but they will not get the return immediately. If I take the example of printers, what do they do? If you look at the upfront cost of a printer, it is not that high. Let's say you are purchasing a printer at 25,000 rupees or 30,000 rupees, right? But if this ink has to be refilled, then in that case, look at the price of the ink. It is somewhere close to 5 to 10,000. So how the company is getting the profit? From this recurring revenue. So rather than concentrating on what is the margin that you are getting in the first instance, you are trying to calculate the margin that can be grown over a period of time. So customer lifetime, the bottom line is that the customer lifetime value has to be more than the customer acquisition cost. We can also do a break-even analysis to understand the customer lifetime value and customer acquisition cost. So if customer acquisition cost is higher than customer lifetime value, it is better not to go with the initiative. Short-term profitability, we also look into the immediate return on investment. I have initiated a marketing campaign, and that marketing campaign is costing me 10 lakhs rupees. Now the incremental profit that I am getting is, in the year 1, I am getting is 5 lakhs rupees. So overall, I am incurring a loss of 5 lakhs rupees in the first year. But if I go by the assumption that due to this marketing initiative, I will keep getting some incremental profit in the subsequent years, maybe there will be a diminishing impact. Let's say in the first year, I am deriving 5 lakhs profit. In the second year, only 80% of that 5 lakhs profit will be extended. That is, in the second year, I will get a profit of 4 lakhs rupees. In the third year, again 80%, 4 lakhs multiplied by 80%, that is 3,20,000 and so on. Then in that case, I have to calculate the overall profitability rather than immediate ROI. Now we can look at the long-term customer equity, long-term metric related to customer value. That is, one is retention value. What is the retention value qualitatively? Retention value is the difference between the value that you can create by acquiring a new customers versus the value that you can create by retaining the existing customer. If you are retaining the existing customer, what is the cost associated? It is the cost to serve the customer. There is no acquisition cost associated. But in case of new customers, it is the customer acquisition cost. Customer loyalty or customer retention has another advantage. That is the referral value. If you are able to retain your customer base, which indicates that customers are satisfied with your brand, there will be a portion of customers who will be referring your brand to their network. Now, these people start purchasing your product. That is actually coming to you, that particular value from the new customers who is coming as a referral. Those are the customers who are creating value for your organization without any investment. So that is the another approach of looking into the customer's lifetime value. Then brand advocacy. When we talked about net promoter score, we tried to understand what is the percentage of customers who will recommend our brand versus what is the percentage of customers who will detract our brand. So when we look into the phenomenon in the long-term customers equity, these metrics are more important. Short-term is required, but long-terms are more appropriate metrics to look into for a long-term sustainability of the business. Now, what you can look into to answer your question, like how can I differentiate between short-term and long-term? Look into this matrix. So if it is high CLV customers, high lifetime value customers, then in that case, retain them aggressively. Even if you are incurring a loss in the short run, that is okay for you, because they are the customer who will make your brand sustainable in the market. Then medium CLV, what you can do? You should also allocate some of the resources associated with the marketing initiative with them, so that you can give it a try to convert them to high net worth customers or high value customers. Then there will be a category of customers who are of low customers lifetime value. So for them, you do not need to invest a lot of money, because they are likely to be the price sensitive customers. They are likely to be the discount mongers. Basically, what you can do, you can just maintain a relationship with them through a, let's say, automated reply. So I will keep sharing the newsletters of my company, newsletters regarding my new arrivals with them, rather than counseling them, rather than making a personal call to them. Then there will be some customers who will be of negative customers lifetime value. So for them, we will try to disinvest the amount. So how we can summarize this question number 1? So what we have to do, rather than looking into the immediate incremental value, we can replace the short-term customers matrix with the long-term lifetime value matrix. First metric that can be used to evaluate the overall position of the company is that CLV by CAC ratio. CLV means customers lifetime value and CAC means customer acquisition cost. We must do this break-even analysis. For an average customer, what is the customer lifetime value at the discounted rate? Then what is the customer acquisition cost, average customer acquisition cost? As I have already said, that the bottom line is that customer lifetime value has to be greater than equal to customer acquisition cost. But in ideal condition, what is this ratio expected to be? The value of this ratio is expected to be at the minimum level of 3. Then only the company can expand itself, the company can grow. Otherwise, if it is just between 1, close to 1, then in that case, the company is just working for its sustenance rather than expansion. Then another metric is retention adjusted profitability. What is retention adjusted profitability? The profit or margin that you can derive minus service related cost. So this profitability has to be taken into consideration. Then ultimately another metric, which is net present customer base value. What is the net present value of the customer? Here we will take everything into consideration. What is the customer acquisition cost? What is the customer retention cost? What is the initial value that is derived by the customers at the first transaction? And what is the customer's lifetime value? So all these 4 factors will be taken into consideration to calculate the net present value. And net present value has to be a positive number as per the bottom line of the business decision is concerned. Now, The second question is related to again customer lifetime value. It is more of a research based questions rather than an application based question. How can CLV and PLV models can empirically validated using primary data in academic research? If I understand these questions correctly, then probably what we are looking into is that, see, conceptually it is easy to understand what is CLV, what is PLV, but it is always a difficult thing to, how do we empirically validate this? Let's say I am devising an equation for calculating the customer's lifetime value. Then in that case, what I am doing, I am estimating three parameters. One is, what is the average value per transaction by the customer? Second one is, what is the frequency at which the customer is purchasing the product? Third one is, what is the, longevity of the customer with the brand. So all these three parameters, if you looked into details, these three parameters itself are dynamic in nature. Transaction value per customers, average customer. So transaction value of the same category customers today versus 5 years down the line will increase or decrease. Right. So earlier I was more interested in a mobile phone just to make calls or just to send SMSs. But today, in between, I started using it for internet access. Today, I am extensively using my mobile phone for AI tools. So I am evolving as a customer. So in that case, it is extremely difficult to calculate the average value that can be created by the customer, specifically when we talk about the future. Similarly for frequency. Today I am a light user, but at one point of time, I will get so used to this product that I will start buying more frequently. And longevity. Longevity is not a repeat. It cannot be just looked from the history. Rather, it has to be looked into the from the relevance point of view. So earlier, the average relationship of a customers with the company was, let's say, 10 years. Nowadays, because there are abundance of alternatives in the market, it will become 5 years, it will become 3 years, it will become 2 years. So now, what are the data required to calculate this CLB and PLB? How can we empirically validate C? So remember, PLB is the prospect lifetime value. The working mechanism of CLB and PLB are similar, but PLB is one step advanced than CLB. Prospect lifetime value means we also take another factor into consideration, that is called the conversion. In case of CLB calculation, which starts from the person where the person is actually making one transaction at least. But in case of PLB, we start with the, let's say, sales qualified lead. So out of, let's say I have 1000 sales qualified lead, out of 1000 sales qualified lead, only 100 customers will make the first purchase. So my CLV calculation will start from this 100%, but my PLV calculation will start from this 1000%, and the conversion rate is considered to be 10%. Remember that though they are on the similar line, the PLV is more sensitive matrix than CLV. A small change in the PLV values, conversion rate, will make a huge difference. Let's say instead of this one 10% conversion rate, I put it as 8%. Then probably the calculation of customers' lifetime value will differ to a significant impact. Now let us look at the type of data. What are the data required to be collected for CLV and what are their sources? So for calculating, for empirically testing the model of customers' lifetime value, which is based on fundamentally three parameters. And then I can also relate the model of CLV with other related parameters such as retention rate, discount rate, etc. Those formulas we have already discussed. But the fundamental kind of data that you need to collect in order to empirically test the CLV model are first transaction level purchase history. I mean, nowadays, if we take the examples of departmental stores, they will ask you for your mobile number, phone number. Why are they asking you for the mobile number? Because they want to look into your historical records for their analysis. Let's say you are a person who used to purchase more than 5,000 rupees whenever you are visiting the smart bazaar. So for them, the transaction value will be, let's say, on the higher side. Then they might also discover that every 30 days you used to visit the smart bazaar at least once, right? And they will also look into that from last 4 years you have been visiting smart bazaar. So transaction level purchase history. Then inter-purchase time. Inter-purchase time means what is the frequency? Are you visiting Smart Bazaar on an interval of 15 days, 30 days, or 45 days? Customers' lifetime value will be based on these factors. Then, customer acquisition cost. Customer acquisition cost is the average cost incurred to a company in order to acquire a new customer. Let's say a customers might be purchasing the product because the customer came to know about the brand from an advertisement that was sponsored in LinkedIn or that was sponsored in Instagram. Then in that case, what is the cost? What is the cost of, let's say, one sponsored advertisement was broadcasted in Instagram and it costed you 1 lakh rupees. And due to this 1 lakh rupees investment, you are getting 100 new customers. So this 1 lakh rupees divided by 100, that is 1000 rupees is your customer acquisition cost. So customer's lifetime value is heavily dependent on the customer acquisition cost because the decision of the marketing initiative will be taken by a comparison between customer lifetime value and customer acquisition cost. Then next comes the service and retention cost. What is the service level cost? What is the cost associated with retention policy? Do you require to make calls at an interval of 15 days, 30 days in order to retain these customers? What is the level of counseling required to retain the set of customers? So these data needs to be taken into consideration. Then important data is the churn data. What is churn? Basically, it is the rate of transition. A person who was visiting, let's say, I have 100 customers today. So in the next year, I will acquire some new customers. That calculation is different. But out of these 100 customers, only 80 customers will purchase my brand. 20 customers will either switch to other brand or they will stop using this category of product. Right. So my retention, my churn rate is 20%. Remember that retention rate and churn rate are reciprocal to each other. If we are able to retain more customers, our churn rate is less and vice versa. Then for customers' lifetime value also, we also need to look into the marketing exposure history. Marketing exposure history means you need to look into how the customers landed on your brand. How did he come to know about your brand? Probably how did he evaluate your brand? And how did he take a decision to purchase from your brand over your competitors? Is the customer exposed to the advertisement? Is the customer exposed to a phone call? Is the customer exposed to a counseling scheme? These factors needs to be taken on record in order to validate an empirical research, study related to customer lifetime value. Then demographic and behavioral covariates. It can be something like this. The customer transition rate, customer churn rate for the young crowd is more as compared to the old crowd. The old crowd they are more loyal as compared to young crowd, right? There can be another possibility that the young people are spending more as compared to old people. So we can try to establish what is the correlation, intercorrelation among different demographic variables and behavioral variables. Now the important question is, these data, theoretically it is easy to explain, but where do I get this data from? As I said that nowadays, even if you visit a departmental store, they will ask you for your phone number. So they are storing your transaction related data. You can retrieve the data from the CRM system. You can retrieve the data from the loyalty program such as frequent flyer scheme. Then you can also try to estimate the data from the field service, mall intercept interviews, or ultimately you can retrieve the data from control firm collaboration. Now, what is the set of data required for empirically testing a model depicting the prospect lifetime value? As I say, the customer lifetime value and prospect lifetime value, their working mechanism are on the same direction. Only thing is that in case of prospect lifetime value, we will start from sales qualified lead. In case of customer's lifetime value, we'll start from the first purchase. So what data you need to cover in order to have a look at the prospect lifetime value model is that lead database. Lead database, which will consist your customers as well as your potential customers whom you missed. Then you also need to look into the prospect characteristics. What are the basic characteristics in terms of income, in terms of educational qualification, in terms of psychological factors such as whether they are adventure lover or whether they are price sensitive, or in terms of behavioral, if they buy your product, at what quantity they are buying, whether they are a heavy user, medium user, or a light user. Then you also need to collect the data regarding the marketing touchpoint exposure. How did the customer know about your brand? Is it through digital media advertisement? Is it through newspaper? Is it through television advertisement? Is it through your loyal customers reference? So what it is? Based on that, then only you can do the channel optimization when it comes to budget allocation through each of these channels. Then you need to have the data regarding the conversion outcome, whether the prospect has converted himself or herself as a customer by its first purchase. Then last parameter that needs to be collected is post acquisition purchase behavior. Once the customer purchases the product or the brand, is he using it smoothly, or he is facing a lot of difficulties, he is asking you a lot of queries, is he a right user for your product? So remember, during the process of segmentation and targeting, you have created a customer's persona, you have created a profile. Whether your customers are matching with that profile that was created during the segmentation, targeting, and positioning process. So these kind of data needs to be calculated. Right, so this is all from my side. If you have any other question from your side, I can quickly take 1-2 more questions. No question? I think we can stop it. Okay. Do I have to stop it from my side?